Përshëndetje të gjithëve, faleminderit shumë për kohën që keni gjetë, na bashkangjiteni edhe sot, disa tri për spari herë për në programin My Entrepreneurship Journey, ose rrugtimi im në dërmarrësi apo si sipërmarrës. Sot kam nderin që t'ju prezantoj një shok timin të mirë, edhe një biznesmen shumë të suksesshëm, shqiptar amerikan, zotri Krenar Komonin. Do t'ja bëj një introduction të shkurtër nga ajo biografia që ma ka dërbu, po besoj që ky do t'jetë kështu më i përshtatshëm që pastaj ta tregoj his own story, po unë vetëm kështu për formalitet pak po lexoj, po e bëj introduce. Edhe do e bëj në anglisht sepse edhe Krenari besoj që do e mbaj në anglisht prezantimin, kështu që
Gjys.
Si ta kemi më lehtë.
Oh.
Krenar Komoni has developed the breakthrough ideas in electronics design, logistics, and data analytics for nearly 20 years. As an innovator and market leader, he has successfully developed and lead cross-functional teams while enhancing business performance in sales, finance, supply chain, logistics, distribution, and manufacturing. Most recently, Krenar founded the global supply chain visibility company called Thrive and serves in the role of CEO. Thrive is a cloud-based platform that uses LUT sensors to capture critical real-time sensor data as products are shipped around the world. Krenar embodies the leadership, management, and vision necessary to deliver market innovation, drive growth, and unlock hidden potential. Do ta lej Krenarin që të vazhdoj pastaj edhe pjesën tjetër, para se të filloj me Thrive, që ky t'na tregoj pak më shumë nga edhe ajo pjesë. Kështu që Krenar, the floor is yours. Faleminderit shumë për kohën që e ke gjetë edhe për vullnetin që të vish këtu ta ndash historinë tonë të suksesit me ne. Faleminderit shumë.
S'ka gjë. Faleminderit shumë Fatan. Faleminderit për gjithëve që jeni këtu në Zoom, edhe besoj që inshallah bëj pak më entertaining so you guys can see exactly what I went through and how it all started. I think it's maybe more comfortable for me to speak in English, edhe pse jo më rrinë në Kosovë, gruna kam të Korçës, i përzit dy gjuhët dhe Shqipnisë dhe Kosovës, më shumë thjesht me bisedu, po besoj që kur bisedoj kështu për kompani edhe për biznes e kam shumë thjesht anglisht. A është okay ajo Fatan apo edhe me përzi? Okay, super.
Shumë rregull. E kuptojmë se për shembull edhe terminologjia e biznesit zakonisht është më shumë se anglishtja është gjuhë e biznesit. Kështu që e ke më lehtë të shprehësh.
Më shprej, super. Faleminderit shumë. Unë sot kam përgatit veç do slides që kështu mi pa vizualisht so you guys can visualize a little bit where I've been through and where I came from. And I'll just kind of keep going from here since the early times of my childhood. So I was born in Kosovo. I went to primary school and high school in Kosovo. I don't know how many people know this area, but this is in Pristina. This is Ismail Cemali, which is the primary school. That's where I went to for 8 years. And then I went to really, really good high school. I think it was the best high school in Kosovo during that time. That building that you see right there is not there anymore. So if you go to Pristina, you see the big cathedral, the big church right in the center. That's exactly where that building was. So that's the high school I went to. This was called Jevdet Doda. They moved since then, but it was really focused on mathematics, physics, and those are the two main areas that was quite focused on. So I learned a lot from that high school, especially around mathematics. But that's where I grew up. And I went to high school from like all the way to junior year, and then senior year, I moved to United States. But all of what I want to say is the entrepreneurship kind of bug started with me back in Kosovo, not in the United States. It started when I was really young, around 14, 15 years old, when we started with 2-3 other guys that were a little bit older than me. I was 15 back then in 1998. We started this company we wanted to do called Science Logic. And you can see a little bit, I found a screenshot from really, really long time ago. And I was passionate about 3D animations and computer design animations, and we wanted to do web hosting accounts and web design, and also make a little bit of a website where we could put articles and things like that. And that was kind of the start for me on entrepreneurship, to start different things. And from Science Logic, what happened is we started this thing called PR Tech. And PR Tech was Pristina Technologies. And we started with two other people there, three actually, two Gensis, Gens Castrati, Gens Doko, and Betim Deva. Actually, so Gens Castrati is in Switzerland right now. Gens Doko works for SAP, and Betim Deva works for Apple. He does all the Apple Music and Apple TV stuff. So it was a really interesting that I grew up with amazing folks like that, but we were so close together. We were almost in a very close vicinity, even in apartments where we were living. And we started this thing called Pristina Technology. And there we would put articles about all the greatest, newest things on computers, on websites, on engineering, on companies releasing new Linux versions, Unix versions, Windows versions, telephones, etc. And the other place where my entrepreneurship bug started was in Cova TV. So when KTV started, I was probably the employee number 3, or no, employee number 5 or 6, and we were starting Cova TV to just when it was getting started. This was in 2002, I believe, or 2001, 2002, 2003. I just don't remember the exact dates. No, it was no, sorry, it was 99 and 2000, right after the war. And I went to the interview. I was 16 years old, and this guy they wanted to do 3D animations, and I got an interview, and the guy hired me, and I was making 300 euros a month as a 16-year-old kid back in Kosovo, which was more than my parents were making and more than a lot of people were making. And but Cova TV was also an entrepreneurship thing because it was just getting started. It was a startup. We were just like everything, installing the servers and equipment and designing all the logo and designing different things for the TV. It was quite fun. So if you ever watched Cova TV and you saw one of these things, marketing or Cova Vision or the little film thing that flips, or Laimet and Brumjes, any of these, it's all done by me. When I was 16 and 17 years old, back in Kotova. I don't know if they still run these, but maybe they do. And the other funny thing is Ditari Stupcave, which is Vedat Bayrami, Osmani, Agroni, Belerimi. They're the funniest guys out there, as you guys know them. The first episode, the first ever Ditari Stupcave, it was actually edited by me. So I worked with these guys together and we edited. So that was another startup, right? A startup within a startup, because these guys were starting this thing and we were staying until 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And just all these experiences helped me hone myself and also understand what it is to make something out of nothing. Before I joined Cova TV, there was nothing. And then there was all these things and programs and TV material. Before Ditari Stupcave, they recorded all these things. There was nothing. And then we did all the editing and then created Ditari Stupcave. So a lot of these experiences shaped me quite a bit. Even one thing I wanted to say here on my mom's kitchen table, my mom had a big influence in me because after during in 1998, 1998, 90, I think that's when everybody got fired in Kosovo. Essentially, the Serbian regime came out and fired everybody from their jobs. My mom was working at the Radio Pristina. My dad was working at this Yugo Inspect company, and both were left without a job. And my mom was able to, using the kitchen table that we had in our kitchen, bring kids to learn English as a second language. So kids come from school, we were in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, we would go to our kitchen table at our house and my mom would teach them English and make, I don't know, 5 euros or 10 euros a month, whatever they would charge back then. But it was something I also learned from my mom on how to start something from nothing. So this was kind of my journey. And then in senior year of high school, I decided to come to the States, and I told my parents I really want to come to America because I believe that that's where I'm going to get a better education, because I saw that the education in Kosovo, of course, had limits, especially in college, on where I wanted to go, what I wanted to learn. So I went to Northfield High School in Vermont. That story is a long story on how I got there. I'm not going to dive in, but all I can say is I got my visa on September 10, 2001, one day before 9/11. I was really, really lucky. And then all the embassies closed, as you guys know. So I came to US in 2000 and end of 2001, graduated from Northfield High School in 2002. And then Norwich University was right in Northfield, Vermont. So I went to Norwich, and it's a private military college. Is United States' first private military college, where you can also have civilians. But studied a lot there because it was in the middle of nowhere. So I did 2 majors, computer engineering and math, and a minor in computer science, and learned a lot about leadership there. Because being a military school, all they talked about was leadership, and they kind of put that, even though you were a civilian, they put that in your head. And there I was a president of IEEE, which is an engineering organization. I was president of Tau Beta Pi, which is an engineering honor society. So did a lot of leadership roles while at college, and then went to Tufts University to do my master's in electrical engineering. At Norwich, I started a senior project, built wireless communication audio. So before Sonos was around, we built the first Sonos, but that was for a senior project, just wireless audio. And then at Tufts University, it was primarily on designing chipsets. I did my master's there and really enjoyed it. But during this time, while I was going to college, I got as a junior in college, I got an internship at a company called Bitwave Semiconductor. And one of the guys there invited me to join his company. And at Bitwave, we built the world's first, the phones that you have today. There's a chip there that does 2G, 3G, 4G, LTE, all the communications. So that we built that chipset at Bitwave. And it was a lot of experience, a lot of fun to join that company. And then in 2010, with another guy, I started a company called EcoSSD, and that one failed. It went nowhere. We were designing memory cards and for legacy products, but just memories that go into various products, position imaging and EDA devices. One of the MIT professors that I worked at Bitwave invited me to join his company, ETA Devices, to be the first employee. And ETA, we built these amplifiers that go on base stations on cell towers. And then with the CTO at Bitwave, started Phoenix RF Technologies, which we helped companies like Viasat, Olympus, all with wireless chipsets. All I want to show you here is that I have a lot of experience on all of these were startups. So I never worked for a really big company, and I never had the urge to work for a big company. I wanted to stay in small companies because the risk was always there, and I didn't want to get comfortable. Because the moment you get comfortable in life, sometimes it's difficult to go back, because comfort, a big paycheck, big organization, it makes you difficult to take risks. And I always wanted to stay in that risk level and not jump to the comfort. So that's one thing. And the second thing I wanted to show here is just the experience that I had with wireless communications and chipsets, and how I led to starting my new company that I am right now called Tive. So Tive started in Worcester, Massachusetts, in the basement of Worcester. And the way it started is that guy that you see right there on the right, on the top. I kept going to his house. I kept going to his work, and he was always on the phone. Every time I would go on the phone trying to figure out where his truck drivers are. He has a trucking business. Kamiona, okay, kamionji, me maune. Every time I shkresh në shpe, është në telefon. Ku janë kamionat, ku është shoferi, a kam bri, as kam bri, did they load, did they unload? It's a pretty hectic. Transportation and logistics is always moving. You always have to deliver on time, make sure that stuff gets there. And I told him, you know what? I have all this experience. Why don't I build a GPS tracker? GPS një tracker, let me put it in your trucks. And then I started putting in his trucks. I would go at midnight, test it before the drivers would leave next morning. And then his friend started to track his trucks. And that guy, by the way, right there, është Vieri jam. He's my wife's dad. He's my father-in-law, Vieri. And I just saw him yesterday. And I learned a lot from him just on how the trucking business works. But what I realized is that even though I was tracking his trucks, some shippers, the word shipper means njerëz që çojnë malla, për shembull Driscoll's, me Dreza, me Shlule Shtrydhe, me Costco, all these clients, when they load up the truck, some of them were putting these sensors on top of the pallet. And this sensor would just measure temperature, but it was not real time. So I would ask this trucker, Tony, I'm like, Tony, Tony would say, hey, at the end of the shipment, somebody takes this device, they look at it. I'm like, isn't that too late? It's like the temperature has gone bad. It's just way too late. And I thought about the idea of making these real time so that when you put a sensor on the shipment, like temperature sensor or location sensor, you can get that data in real time anywhere in the world. So that if something goes wrong with your shipment, whether it's Lule Shtrydhe, whether it's bananas, whether it's blueberries, raspberries, mango, avocado, whether it's engine parts, auto parts, anything, you know before it arrives there. And when I looked online, to see if I can find products like that, I couldn't find anything good. Everything was these just tiny tracker, black box, with 3-day battery life, 7-day battery life, with nothing on software. I'm like, this world needs something better. And I know I can do it. And that's where the whole thing started. You can see down there in the basement, that's my daughter, Fiona. Fiona to Louis Metrakera as we were building back in 2016. Since then, we've grown quite a bit. We went from tani jemi 21 vet që punojmë. Kemi shku revenu këgja mirë, jemi rrit. Investime kemi marrë dhe qëta 7.5 million dollar për investorëve ndryshëm. Edhe kena me marrë një investim, a bigger investment now coming, actually bigger than that, in the next few weeks to continue our growth. And it's been an amazing ride so far. And we have great customers, si Driscoll's, këto mos mi përmend shumë, po janë edhe Costco, Carlsberg, Tesla, e tjera. Edhe kompani ndryshme të logjistikës që na përdorin neve every single day to monitor their shipments. Kështu që kur shkon në dyqan blen në Dreza, Lule Shtrydhe, nështë na e kena monitoru, ose kur pin në birë, apo kur e merr në kerr, në Tesla në ditë, nështë në pjesë që ka shku në Tesla na e kena monitoru. Jena edhe ekipin që kom bo është edhe kom rrit në Kosovë. Tani kena 8 punëtorë në Kosovë. Veç një e kena pasën prill 2020, tani jena 8. Edhe kena me rrit edhe ata. We're gonna grow that team too. And yeah, it's been very exciting. This is how the system works, just so I can show you very quickly. These are the trackers. You see this one in my hand? All the customer does is presses the button. They see a light, they put it on the pallet or on the shipment, and they close the trailer or container, and then they get real-time information on where it is in the condition, temperature, humidity, shock. And then they put it on like this, and it just tracks it. And then they have a software where we log in and see everything. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I'd rather leave it for questions and answers. I think it'll be fun to do that. Thank you.
Wow, faleminderit shumë, Krenar. Very, very inspiring and interesting story. Edhe kjo e tajm shumë praktike dhe shumë kështu komplekse si produkt. Okay, faleminderit shumë, Krenar. Do we have anybody who has questions? Në pyetje për Krenarin?
Unë do kisha një pyetje. Po, unë jam një mosh që po kërkoj shumë për veten time, po kërkoj shumë të di se çfarë duhet bëj me jetën time, dhe kjo që sapo tregove, historia juaj, është historia që duhet kem edhe unë. Do ta bëj edhe unë njëjtën gjë. Do të pyes ndonjë këshill se si mund ta hedhësh hapin e parë, ku mund ta hedhësh hapin e parë, si mund ta hedhësh hapin e parë?
Shumë pyetje e mirë, edhe është ndoshta shumë e thjeshtë më përgjigj to answer it, por nëse përgjigjen thjesht mos ma merr për të madhe.
Nuk ka problem.
Sipas meje, domethënë tëra ato eksperienca dhe përvoja, asnjëna s'ka qenë e planifikuar. Asnjëna s'ka qenë e planifikuar, por një send që e di që e kam vrejt ndaj vetvetes që e bëj, është unë, domethënë kur të vjen një shans, kur të vjen një opportunity, mos prit a është kjo për mua. Am I gonna like it? Am I gonna love it? Without trying, you do not know. So you have to keep trying. I started a web design company, it totally failed. I started the memory company, it totally failed. You just keep trying to see what you're really passionate about and what's your calling in this world. And without trying, you cannot find it. And I think some people make that mistake that they don't try. They just say, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna really like it. Try it, you don't know. Oh, I wanna be a news anchor. Try it, you don't know. I want to be a marketing person. Try it. You don't know. So if you keep trying, like, if you believe in God, God didn't give you a manuscript on how to run your life, right? We don't have it anymore. Yeah. Yes, there's the big books, but none of that, nothing personalized to you. So it's trial, failure, and trial and error kind of thing. And by you doing that, you figure out and you realize what you're really good at and what's your passion and what you want to do. And then one day it just clicks. And I think that's all. It's pretty simple. Don't hesitate and jump. I think that's the best way to put it. You're too young right now to think about risk. S'ki kur gjë, kur fa rreziku. Ti mundesh me janis edhe 500 herë, stash për një vjet sana 3 me bo. Yeah, just jump.
Thank you for advice.
Nga ana ime nëse mundem.
Ingjurna.
Doja të dija se si ke mundur që produktin tënd t'ja kesh përcjell dhe të tjerëve dhe ta ke njohur produktin tënd.
No, okay. Can I do it in English, Angie?
Yeah, you can do it. How you can reach the clients?
Yeah. So let me explain something, right? In 2015, when I started the company, and I saw Alci, that's his name, trucks, and I started tracking his trucks. He was the only guy who looked at this. Nobody else in 2015, even 2016. And I was alone in the truck installing this and trying it. But I was always in my mind envisioned someday a lot of people are going to use this. And you want to always think about the future because that's what makes you not give up. Because there's so many adversities over and over again to make you just give up in the middle of it. And what happens is with time, and if you don't give up, you start realizing what product is better. You start talking to customers randomly, right? You go to a conference. I went to a conference in Boston. It was a pharmaceutical conference. And I met these people in the hallway. I had a 3D printed box, like a white box, not even this tracker. And I told this pharmaceutical company, hey, how about you track your pharmaceuticals in real time? And they were 2 weeks later, they issued a purchase order. And it just, you need to be out there. You need to go out there and don't be scared of failing and getting a lot of no's. Regardless who it is, could be a CEO, could be a VP of whatever you're trying to sell or director. But if you keep trying, and then what happens is you start learning and listening to these customers on what they're really looking for. We built this track, like as an example, engine, why it worked like this and how we got to more success is we had this tracker that you would reuse it over and over again, but you had to reuse it. Customers had to reuse it and had difficulty returning them and reusing them. And I realized customers want something one time. So we released the tracker that's single use. They just press the button, put it on. They don't have to return it to us. They don't have to return it back to them. And this is really what created more success for us. So I think it's, again, a pretty simple answer. Just go and talk to them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Don't hesitate. That's the thing. I think people don't want, like, almost like shoot your, like, shoot and then aim type of thing. Don't aim and aim and aim and try and aim and then, oh, is it perfect? Let me shoot. By the time you think it's perfect, the target's already moved. So sometimes just shoot to see where you need to be.
You think that a mendon se ideja jote ka ardhur nga ajo që ne quajmë në inovacion nga nevoja, apo mendon se kishe menduar edhe më përpara faktin që nevojitej në treg një produkt I tillë?
Nuk e di shumë përgjigj, po si ka ardhur prej frustrimit që e kam pa ndaj vjerrit, a din? Edhe këtu e pa qatë frustrim, edhe që kam para menu sa njerëz tjerë janë të frustrum. Edhe sa njerëz tjerë nuk e din ku janë mallat e tyne. Ti e din kur e blen në Amazon një laps, e din ku e ki. Ai që çon për shembull $1 million makineri nuk e din ku është. Është crazy.
Are you sure you weren't trying to impress your father-in-law?
Hey, I already was married already.
Okay. You always have to refresh that.
I know. 5 every time.
Okay. I also have a question if I'm not cutting anyone from the line.
No, go ahead, Ariane. Go ahead.
So my question to you would be, so when starting a business, no matter what field, I'm not in your field. I'm gonna make that clear.
That's fine. Yeah.
From now, but what were some obstacles that you went through, and as a businessman, as a starter of a business, that you would have approached differently? Something that I can use. For example, I'm starting a clothing line, and that has nothing to do with technology, but just in terms of like reaching out to the right people, to network for like manufacturers and stuff. So what would be something that I could use in my project that you think would have helped you if you went the other way when you were starting your own business?
If I think of the kind of more towards your business and my business, still it's manufacturing, right?
Right. Yes.
And also the customer base. I think one thing I would have loved to have done a little bit more, talk to more customers and not be afraid if they don't like your product, and ask them what they would like differently. And at the end of the day, sometimes customers also don't know what they want, but I think it helps you if you talk to more of them. And I think you should do that same thing. And then second is on manufacturing, there's a lot of people who have done amazing clothing lines and amazing manufacturing on clothing. Try and find the brands that you like. Figure out who manufactures those brands that you like that are similar to you, and then go talk to them and create a new line. Because the people that manufacture similar brands that you're doing are going to be able to move to your clothing line 10 times faster than a manufacturer that you have to teach to do something special, that's whatever special in your clothing line. Could be a belt buckle, could be whatever, right? But right. It could be something that's unique, but you've seen it somewhere else. And that's what we actually did with this in the second time around. We flew to China as an example, which I should have done earlier, but just what I'm telling you, like, because you asked what you could have done. We flew to China. We met went to 8 factories, went to dinner, lunches with all these people, and created a relationship with one of them that's been very good.
So what platform did you use to connect with Chinese manufacturers? Was it like
email and WeChat?
Email, okay.
Yeah, WeChat is a big thing there.
Okay.
Big one, WeChat. They don't use WhatsApp.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask
Anderit,
another
Ariane,
question?
veç pak kidi se nduket Arieta ka dasht me pyet diçka më herët. Arieta, dashte me bon pyetjen? Hape mikrofonin lutem.
Faleminderit për ligjëratën inspiruese, si duket profesori, edhe ndërmarrësi një orë atë ka pas shumë përvoja punës edhe në Kosovë dhe atje. A mundet me na tregu dallimin, ku e ka ndje veten më mirë edhe me na tregu përvojat. Përvojat atje dihet se më po dhe çastin. si ka mund më pyet, ka qenë vështirë atje çështja me dokumente, apo ka qenë këtu kur ka ardhur Kosovë për me investu? Edhe si të kam prit. Cili do ishte mesazhi ju për rinin? Porosia juaj, që ja kishe drejt. Faleminderit.
A mundesh sa të pyetjen e parë edhe një herë vetë, është si më kam prit kur në Kosovë?
Po atje edhe në Kosovë, na tregu dallimet. Me tregu një paralele, me të rek një paralele, së një vend. Ku ka qenë më e mirë pritja, edhe rreth dokumenteve dhe aplikimit dhe çështjes. Si kanë qenë çështja për filimin dokumenteve, a ka qenë lehtë, a ka qenë vështirë, procedurat si tu kanë duk, ato kanë duk procedurat më lehtë atje më kyç, ku jeton, apo në Kosovë. Na tregu dallimet, ose çaj kishe sugjeru rreth çështjes edhe me ardh. A janë njëjta procedurat, ka dallime, cilat janë dallimet?
Okej. Po mora vesh. Dallime nuk ka shumë. Kosova ka arrit këgja shumë këto vitet e fundit, sidomos kur do me fillu biznese dhe me hap biznese, që tash për shembull e kena hap një tri për çta, edhe nuk ka zgat shumë. 2 javë veç dokumentat që duhen mu dërgu, më nënshkru. Edhe ka avokat mirë atje që s'kërkojnë shumë pare, edhe mundesh me kriju. Këtu në Amerikë është shumë lehtë, veç në incorporate.com apo llc.com edhe you get it done. Ma shumë do më thonë është online se sa në Kosovë, po në Kosovë nuk është një problem i madh. Do më thonë ka aplikimi, ka paperwork, s'kom pa në dallim të madh ose në filozofi. Një problem që o konë pak është me banka në Kosovë, si janë kërkesat pak më të nalta mas, po më duket mas 9/11, apo edhe mas pavarësisë, i kanë rrit pak çato, kështu që veç duhet me pas ma shumë dokumenta për biznesin, para se me hap bankën, se s'pëdojnë me pastru pare e gjana tjera. Që është okej, nuk është ndonjë problem i madh. Edhe qasja unë nuk e di, unë jem një tip ndryshe në shtaj shë krejt njerës njësoj, i du krejt njerës njësoj, nuk ka lidhje ku jo është e kjo është, po menoj nga qasja nuk kom pas në dallim këtu apo në Kosovë. Në fundit është merita që të shtymë për para, edhe puna që të shtymë për para, edhe s'ka lidhje ku je edhe tek je, që ashtu kom jetu, që ashtu e vrej, edhe kurse kom këshyrë vetën ndryshë në Kosovë ose ndryshë në Amerikë, nëse jem një human being, një krenar, që edhe nuk e të bëj dallimet në atë aspekt. Edhe s'kom pa në i dallim me të regu të vërtetën që me shqyrtu. A për rinin, sidomos që jena 2020-ën, krejt i ki senet në internet, në krasim me kur jam rritur në 90-ave në Kosovë. Shumë krejt gjana që do me mësu, që do me provu, kitë mund është në internet me pas, apo do me mësu programming, apo do me mësu design, apo do krejt gati ki free tonat. Mund është më shku në MIT for free, edX.com, adin, me mësu gjanat. Kur je i ri, mëso sa ma shumë, edhe bono si synxer që veç merë informata, edhe se që ato ma ndihmojnë të ardhmen me këqyr, kur bën që ato trial and error, and when you're trying, based on the things that you learn to see if this is something you really enjoyed or something you really didn't enjoy. So that's...
Faleminderit.
Faleminderit Arieta. Kedi unë se...
Faleminderit.
Faleminderit Arieta.
My question would be mostly, have you thought about launching an IPO? Or most importantly, what's your plan in growing your business?
Yeah, that's a good question. The way I look at it is pretty straightforward. My goal is to be I think here's the simple answer again. Customers are number one. And number one thing for me is to make sure that those guys are happy and we continue to grow with them so that we satisfy them. And this business and this market is very, very big. It's huge. It's like multi-trillion-dollar business every single year. on what happens. And visibility of where shipments are is just growing every single year. And we were going to believe we're going to be a $100+ million company one day. My vision is to get it there first and create a $1+ billion company and valuation, which I think we can do. The thing is, but we need to keep focused on customers and make sure we're delivering on innovation and on product. The rest will take care of itself. Could be an IPO. I'm okay to that. It could be a merger. Somebody would acquire us. It could be a private equity firm investing in our company and buying more than half or something to continue to grow. I don't have that in my, like, clearly in the future. The only thing I see is a little bit more like 6 to 12 months to make sure we execute correctly so we can get to the numbers that we need to get to.
Yeah, this was my logic also, because we saw from this pandemic that everything fell apart because there were no products being moved. So there is clearly a huge market for you to reach and take a part of. And that's why I was asking you about an IPO, because then I would be interested in investing.
That's good.
Faleminderit Kedi.
Thank you.
A kemi dikush tjetër në pyetje?
Po, kisha një pyetje. Në radhë parë, Faton, do të falenderoj që organizove këtë eveniment dhe
Faleminderit Erin për kohën që ke gjetë me më na bashkangjit.
I have a perfect attendance.
10 out of 10.
No, I really appreciate it. Sepse tani jam mësues matematike dhe biznesi në high school, por kam studiuar entrepreneurship në BEPS-ën edhe
nice.
Krenar, faleminderit që folje sot për biznesin tuaj. Kisha disa pyetje. Në radhë parë, where are you based out of? Ndoshta e the, po I didn't
Boston. I'm in Boston right now, yeah.
You're here, okay.
Yeah. Company is in Boston, yeah.
No, it's incredible se ka shumë entrepreneur shqiptarë të suksesshëm si juve, po nuk, domethënë është e herë e parë domethënë që mu dha mundësi që të njohja për biznesin tuaj dhe suksese. My question it was, what do you see as like the new frontier for like your business and then in general, you know, for like your industry? Se para kemi parë social network, you know, Amazon, search engine optimization, see Google, you know, what is the new frontier for the technological industry, and at the same time, you know, for specifically what you do in terms of logistics, IT?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. So here's the dream, right, on where the world needs to go. Today, to get a shipment done, it takes a lot of paperwork, too many phone calls, a lot of coordination between trucks. Like, let's say you want something from China, it goes from a truck to a port, from the port into it stays there in the container, then goes in the vessel. It can get to another port and then moved from another vessel to another vessel. From that vessel gets to another port, let's say in Rotterdam. Rotterdam gets in a truck. From a truck, it gets into, I don't know, Italy or somewhere, right? So much coordination, too much paperwork, and very little bit of automation. And there's a lot of prone to error and also human beings involved. So where the industry needs to go, similar to kind of internet, the way it's connected us and made the work to be extremely efficient, logistics and transportation and supply chains have really still yet to take advantage of digitization and the internet. A lot of things are done with spreadsheets and phone calls today. Some companies are evolving, and the ones that evolve, they realize that visibility of knowing where the shipments are is important. Because imagine a world where you know everything at any given time on where it is and where it needs to go and what needs to happen. Then all the truckers and all the logistics and the vessels and everybody's coordinated. So then you can automate that process. And there's not much paperwork and not many humans and not too much error involved. Humans always are going to be involved, but not in mundane things like this. So that is not going to happen next year. I think that's more of a 10, 20, 30-year thing that's going to take time to make the world a little bit more efficient. Because this inefficiency, Erin, costs us so much. There's so many, I forget the statistics, but there's a ton of trucks that drive empty.
Yeah, time and money.
It's empty. and then ton of vessels that go empty, and it's just the nature of the beast. But I think if you know all that information on where the empty trucks are, I think you can optimize and at least make the planet a little bit more efficient and use resources better. And that's where that's going, on a very high level, on a more of a 10, 20, 30-year vision.
And you know, I don't know whether you already do it, but have you ever like thought about like being like a young professor, you know, like in a university around here? Because I think it might be like something from you. There are like professors that get ideas from their students about, you know, like what you know, like how you can optimize your product, or like, you know, what you can add to your service and product line.
Yeah, I think
is it something you're interested in, you know, in terms of?
I would be. I would be, but I've realized one thing, that focus is extremely important to me. And right now it's Tive is 1000%, like 100+% focused, and I don't want to have any other commitments or any other things in my life other than family and work, family and Tive. Because I think that's the other thing. Just wanted to, as an advice as an entrepreneur, if you really want to do something, you once you go in, you go in all in. Otherwise, you're always gonna have the plan B to step out. But I'm really focused on this. But Erin, absolutely, like maybe in 2 years, 3 years, and as this becomes bigger and more kind of self-running, or it's kind of bigger structure, I'm very open to doing something like and giving back.
Yeah, more of the suggestion, it was just a curiosity on whether you teach like a class somewhere. Because I know, like, you know, there are like some entrepreneurs like you that will go like only like teach like one class at like Harvard HBS, or like one class at BEPS, and, you know, just
not today.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you got a full plate. Plus, you know, as the phrase say, happy father-in-law, happy life.
Faleminderit. Dikush tjetër? Se unë kam
Profesor,
një pyetje.
mundem?
Po, Manuela.
Apo
Ja,
si
vazhdo
parë
se unë
falenderoj
pas
shumë për gjithë të kohë që na ke dhënë mundësi të ndjekim të si përmarrës kaq fuqishëm jashtë Shqipërisë që janë suksesshëm. Faleminderit shumë nga zemra. Sukseset e Krenar gjithashtu, dhe pyetja ime konsiston nga eksperienca vet jo e këndshme e dështimit, por që më në fund e çon sukses. Unë jam interesuar në fushën e web designer dhe designer. Çfarë do ishte këshilla jote nisur nga eksperienca jote, që unë ta kem parasysh?
For web design? Specific, po.
Edhe designer, se janë të dyja fushat që kam. Unë faktikisht drejtoj organizatën Alva Benën Values Vlerës Shqiptare dhe kemi projekte në këtë lloj fushe. Prandaj intereson.
Okay, shumë mirë. Design gjithmonë kam pas qef. Një send në design që ka ndodhë dhe të din të vetë, për shembull me Squarespace, me Wix.com, me këto janë kriju do website-a ku mundesh vetë me kriju website-at shumë shpejt. Një send që kisha sugjeru është kur bisedon me klientat, do më thonë mi të regu që ajo është okay, por nuk është që apo dojnë të aman ata. Edhe me mujtë në shta manjola me gjetë, edhe në design, është mirë me gjetë në shta një klientel, një bazë, ku e ki kriju një farë eksperiencë dhe përvojët mirë, edhe me shku në qatë drejtim. Për shembull, nështë janë kompani që dojnë design for finances, or design for selling shoes, or something like that. And you become really good at that, and you go after all the shoe companies. And that's sometimes really helpful because it keeps you focused, and it also makes you an expert in that field on how to best sell shoes, or how to best make a website for a fintech company. I think that's the only thing I would suggest. If you can do that, and then you can grow on other verticals and other areas. But that's maybe just a quick suggestion.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And congratulations
in everything.
Ndet Manuela, Krenar, unë kam një pyetje se edhe 7 minuta kështu, e fillojmë workshopin sot që është specifically for finding funding, like how to fund your startup.
Nice. Okay.
Ti e përmeni gjatë prezantimit tanë që tërkohën e ke edhe si pjesë e rolit tanë që bisedon edhe gjen investor të ri në Tajv. Na e thuj pika të shkurta, ndoshta one or two things that are very important when you are like in terms of funding your business, like and talking to investors, especially the type of investors you talk to.
Okay, I can tell you. I'll go back and tell you one or two things that are very important that I think we as Albanians have a difficulty with, which I had to learn, and I think you'll all kind of understand it. But before I jump into that, with investors, same as customers, these guys are gonna tell you no. And with investors, the key is to find like the right time and the right person with your idea. Because like Magnola, if she went and pitched her design website idea to an investor that invests in, I don't know, chipsets and semiconductors, they'd be like, I have no idea about design. So you got to find people who are passionate about your industry and that are willing to write a check. I think that's the best thing to do first, because those are the people that also help you. But I want to say one thing, in when you're talking to investors, the main thing that I learned, and sometimes as Albanians is difficult, do not become defensive. Do not become defensive. Sometimes we have this thing like, oh, it's my idea, it's the best, and no, you're wrong. No, the key with investors is for you to be a human being that understands and evolves, because everybody knows, all investors know, just so you know, that that idea that you have is gonna change. And if they realize that you're not willing to be flexible and you're becoming very defensive with them, they're not gonna invest in you. So don't become defensive, be cool about it. I think that's the best way to put it, which is sometimes difficult for a lot of Albanians to do. But I think that's one advice I would say when we talk to investors. Be cool about it. It's okay if they don't like it. I think that at the end of the day, they want to see that you're flexible and you can also change. Because remember, as guys, the first idea that I started with didn't end up where I am today. We had to change.
And are you worried, Krenar, that, like as your business grows and, maybe like going public or, having like investors and such, you lose like part of the autonomy, you'll be like people like telling you what to do that don't know as much as you do about the business?
Yeah, good question. I'm not terribly worried. That's life. That's how you grow, right? There's only few businesses in the world that the owner owns everything, that are very, very successful. Maybe George Lucas from Lucasfilms with Star Wars. He's the only one who owns the whole thing and sold it again to Disney. But that's like 1 in a million. I mean, the guys, it's different. For me, I have a lot of investors. I don't own all my company. And I'm gonna get now actually board members and board directors on the new investment side. And they don't have to actually know your business, but they have to have seen a lot of other companies grow from 0 to 5 million to 10 million, 100 million in revenue. And those patterns are somewhat similar. They're not in transportation, maybe they're somewhere else. But that's the advice that you're trying to get from these people, more on leadership, more on management, more on how to grow the business, what structures to put in place. They don't know, they're not going to help you run your business day to day. You have to do it.
Yeah, of course. What is your priority right now? Are you trying to like make a better product? Are you trying to get more funding? What is like the number one priority in your?
My number one priority a few weeks ago was to get funding, and we've signed a term sheet with. It's going to be a really nice raise, double-digit $1 million fundraise, which is going to be done in a couple of weeks. And that helps us grow. So that was my priority. But the second priority for me is product and making sure customers are getting what they want. But one thing that I want to focus on is relevant here is the COVID vaccine. So COVID vaccines with Pfizer and new ones are going to need a serious distribution and visibility. And they need products that go to -80 Celsius. And we're going to be the first ones in the market to release a real-time tracker that can measure down to -80 Celsius. And I want to do that here in February, March, and then continue for Pfizer, J&J, and all the other ones, because the world needs that. I mean, that's the best thing I can do right now with my business, and the next product I can focus on. Together with making sure that what we have is running perfectly before we do that other thing. But yeah, just wanted to throw that out there.
Interesting.
Ndet shumë Krenar, kish mi marr hala pyetje, di që ka pyetje se Krenari e di prek shumë themes që pastaj se me të vërtetë është historia jote është inspiruese, përvoja jote, unë edhe zakonisht edhe kur takohemi kështu individualisht, I learn so much from you. E di mësoj shumë se you are always very focused and very hands-on. Edhe je shumë I përkushtuar, që është shumë e rëndësishme në biznes. Mirë po për sot ka që kishim, sepse do të fillojmë njëherë në orën 12 me workshopin. Po unë falenderoj shumë Krenar, në emrin tim edhe gjithë këtu bordit e stafit të shkollës Shqipe Iliria. Besoj edhe në emrin e pjesëmarrësve, nëse ju falenderoj, nuk gaboj. Për kohën edhe të urojmë shumë suksese. Herën tjetër kur të vish me nda këtu, besoj që do të jesh veç in a 7 or 8 figures and above.
I hope so. Will be.
Kështu që ju urojmë shumë suksese Krenar, edhe ju falenderoj edhe pjesëmarrësve, edhe ju uroj edhe ju suksese, e shifemi në evente tjera. Ky është my Entrepreneurship Journey event I fundit për vjeshtën. Ne do të fillojmë prapë me seri 3 në pranverë nga muaji janar, kështu që stay tuned for more në pranverë. Ju falenderoj shumë, falenderoj edhe një herë Krenar, ju përshëndes e mirupafshim. Suksese shëndet.
Falenderoj shumë Fatan, edhe falenderoj për gjithëve që ndajnë dëgjuat. Kaloshit mirë.
Mirupafshim.
Faleminderit Fatun, falenderit Krenar.
Thank you.